All right, it is 5 o'clock. And I want to welcome you all to Red Hill meeting number 26. Thank you all for attending. We're going to start with welcome Oli. Oh, did we lose Heilani? Oh, here she is. She's coming in. Okay. There we go. Yeah, Heilani, if you could lead us in the Oli when you're ready. And the words are in, for everyone else, the words are in the chat.
Hmm. Did we start?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I was going to ask you to lead the Oli for us.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Do you want me to start now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so the reason why we do this Oli, it's called Ola Ikaha, is because we try to, have everyone focus on what's really important, which is the Hawaii, which is the water and the life-giving waters of Hawaii. So this short Oli, it was written by Kumukuai Kapua Kalani Hewitt. Okay. We're going to do it 3 times. Olai ka,
Ola
olai
i
ka,
kapai,
olai
i
ka
kapai, ola
Hawaii,
i
Hawaii,
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 olai ka, olai ka wai, olai ka i, Hawaii, 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 olai ka, olai ka wai, olai ka i, Hawaii, Hawaii, Hawaii. Hola.
Thank you. Okay, so next we're going to have the CRI committee introduce ourselves. I am Susan Gorman Chang, and I am the chair, and then I'll select the next person. We can kind of popcorn around, and that person will select the next person to introduce. So, Mariko?
Hi, I'm Mariko Jackson. I'm representing the Oahu community. And
then you get
go with Chris.
Hi, Chris Anton representing affected families. And we'll go with Bill.
Bill South, I'm representing Sierra Club of Hawaii.
Mia Lisa.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Mia Lisa. I'm representing the community of Oahu.
Okay, I'll go next. Healani Sonora Pole. I'm representing Native Hawaiian interest. I'm subbing for Maiha.
Hi, Jamie Simic. I am representing affected family members.
Aloha Ova'o Imilo Borland. I'm representing Native Hawaiian interests.
We've got Robert and Michelle next, so one of you can go.
I'm Robert Huber. I'm representing the CRI and all of Oahu. And whoever's next.
Michelle.
Aloha, I'm Michelle Poplar. I'm representing affected family members, a member at large from Capilina Beach Homes.
Right. Thank you so much. All right. So since Elin has so graciously volunteered to do a presentation for us, and she's on Eastern Standard Time, we're going to kind of jump right into her presentation. She is the founder of Safe Water Engineering, LLC, and has really dug in to a lot of these Red Hill issues, and formerly with the EPA, correct? Yes. Okay. So she's going to give her presentation. She's got some slides, and then we can ask some questions.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. And then I'll get my screen up. And let's see. And then looks like that's working. All right, great. Okay, so thank you for inviting me to speak here today. I'm going to talk about the Camp Smith water tank inspections because the EPA completed an inspection at the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam water system in 2024 and found some concerning findings at the tanks. And so I want to help explain what the outcome of that inspection means for public health based on my understanding of these issues. So as Susan said, I started out my drinking water career working for the EPA. I was in Washington, D.C. in the Office of Groundwater and Drinking Water, writing a lot of these drinking water regulations. And now I run Safe Water Engineering based in Detroit, Michigan. And one thing that I really focus on doing with my company is helping communities understand drinking water issues, what Safe Drinking Water Act compliance means, what the data means that they're getting for their water utilities, and helping to kind of translate this technical information for what it really means for public health and understanding better whether the water system is in compliance with requirements or not. So I was contacted kind of through the Sierra Club to answer some drinking water questions about a year and a half ago. And so I've been doing my best to try to translate some of the mysterious drinking water information that we have for the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam water system after the Red Hill incident. So that's kind of how I got involved. And so I've been following the information for about a year and a half now. So right today, focusing on the Camp Smith tanks. So the Camp Smith drinking water tank has not been cleaned since 2013, and it isn't scheduled to be inspected or cleaned until 2030. And this is information that came out in the EPA inspection report. So it is important to know that the Camp Smith water tanks are on the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam water lines, and they look like they were served by the Halava shaft when it was in service. So I will show a map on my next slide of what that means. EPA and the American Water Works Association are largest organizations that opine on drinking water quality, all recommend that storage tanks are cleaned and inspected every 5 years. And so when I saw that this gap between 2013 and 2030, it raised serious concerns about water safety for me when I looked at this inspection. So here is a photo from the inspection report, and this is the S326 tank that is in service. This one is out of service, but all of these observations apply to the tank that is in service. So this is a map of the water lines in the Navy system, the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam water system. And so the Camp Smith storage tanks are up in the elevation up here, right above the Halava shaft. And so what drinking water storage tanks generally do is their role is to maintain pressure and serve as a additional water if there is a sudden demand in water. So these tanks are at a high elevation and they're what we call floating on the system. So if there is a water main break or a large water demand or a big fire and there's a large water need that like pumps can't respond fast enough, then you've got these tanks that are providing the hydraulic pressure to maintain the water system, but it also means that if there is a large demand on that, then the water will come out of that tank. It will drain. So I think another, as I've been talking to Susan and other members of the Sierra Club, it sounds like perhaps some people think that the Camp Smith storage tanks only serve the Camp Smith area, but based on this diagram of the water system, they're named for their location. They're on the Joint Base System, and they are providing this backup pressure and water source for this entire area. And so with the Halava Shaft and the Red Hill Shaft and and please forgive me for my pronunciations, because I'm probably doing it wrong, the Waiuba Shaft being the only one in service, this backup pressure source becomes really important, because that means all of the water is coming from here and has to travel through all these lines to get to the rest of the water system. So tank inspections matter because inspections find breaches in the infrastructure, and so that they can be repaired, and cleanings remove sediment and biofilms that can build up in the bottom and on the sides of the tank. So they're both very important. When you've got a breach in the infrastructure, animals, insects can get in, then you have microbes in there, and once they're in, they can settle in the sediment and continue to grow. So unclean tanks are a breeding ground for pathogens. And so there is a EPA research presentation that calls this a sleeping public health concern. And yep.
Cup noodles?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, can people mute themselves, please?
Okay. So the Naval Facilities Engineering Command has their own standard operating procedure for water storage tank inspections, and that document requires inspection and cleaning every 3 to 5 years. So we have organization after organization recognizing the importance of this. I serve on the National Drinking Water Advisory Council, and that is an group created by EPA to advise EPA on drinking water regulations. And we wrote a report 2 years ago that recommended that EPA does need to establish a national inspection and cleaning requirement for drinking water storage tanks. And that's actually part of a regulation that EPA is supposed to be working on right now, because they're on a regulatory deadline to propose that rule. But they're just organization after organization has recognized the critical importance of inspecting and cleaning storage tanks on a regular basis, consistently recommending that 3 to 5 year time period. So here on the right of this slide is an excerpt from the inspection itself, but kind of generalizing these findings. EPA found visible sludge in the layer at the bottom of the tank. They found geckos. They found breaches in the structure. There are opportunities for animals to get in, and once the animals get in, then we start having a microbial issue. Chlorine cannot protect against pathogens in sediment. When pathogens get into the sediment that collects at the bottom of a storage tank, the sediment provides like a protective layer, and it takes much more chlorine to inactivate a pathogen once it settles in that sediment layer in a drinking water storage tank. So when you combine these issues, that we have breaches in structure, we have animals, within the tank, and the sludge, these all come together to create this real public health risk. So here are some examples of the breaches in the structure. Here is a unsealed loose metal cover, so geckos, insects can crawl in under there. This is a flapper valve that is supposed to seal against the overflow of the elevated tank, and so it's not fully closed. This is an opportunity for geckos and other creatures to get in and get into the storage tank. So documented breaches in the structure. And here are pictures from inside the tanks. And so both of these show evidence of the sediment layer on the bottom of the Camp Smith tanks. They did not drain the tanks. They did not do a full inspection. So they don't know how deep the sediment layer is. But we do know the last time that they cleaned and inspected was in 2013, before the 2021 contamination event. So if petroleum contaminants got into the tank, they could have settled here in the tank, gotten in the sediment, and be held there, because we know for absolute certain that they have not drained and removed the sediment during this time period. So the Camp Smith tanks are what we call in the drinking water world finished water. So it's after all treatment has happened. There's no additional treatment before the water comes out at a household tap. So it's important to understand that that this is finished water. That what you see in that tank is what you get out of the tap. So pathogens that could be living in there, we haven't done any sampling. EPA has not done sampling, but potential pathogens are Legionella, Salmonella, E. coli, potentially Cryptosporidium. And as I mentioned before, the sediments concentrate microorganisms and any of the contaminants that have entered the tank. And so that could include, in this case, residual jet fuel. Bacteria, when it's attached to the particles, can be more than 600 times more resistant to disinfection. And fungi, like molds and yeasts, are even harder to kill than a bacteria. And so this becomes a risk. Right now, the sediment is all settled there. It's nice and calm. We think it's not disturbed. But what can happen is what we call an uncontrolled washout event, where there is a sudden demand on that water and it pulls that water down quickly. It stirs up that sediment and it gets pulled into the distribution system and it's distributed through the pipes. We have examples of this happening in real life. And so one is the Alamosa outbreak in Colorado from 2008, which was documented to have sickened 1,300 people and it caused one death. And so as a result, the state of Colorado has implemented its own requirements. They do have a requirement for cleaning and inspecting tanks every 5 years, but it's possible they the only state, but they are the most aggressive state right now with a tank inspection and cleaning requirement. And that's because they've had this history and this actual outbreak that sickened 1,300 people. So, why is this allowed right now? Well, the EPA in their inspection, they found these issues and they offered an extension until 2030. So going well beyond that 3 to 5 year recommendation or SOP for the Navy. They have 17 years from 2013 to 2030 to get this under control. But we know that this is a documented hazard. It's happened in other communities. And so that's why I was particularly concerned when I saw it in the EPA inspection report. But they aren't requiring anything any sooner, because right now the Safe Drinking Water Act does not require it, even though we've got recommendations from all these organizations that this is absolutely critical for public health protection. So the EPA, the Navy, and the Hawaii Department of Health, they know this. They have access to this information. They know that tank cleaning is an essential part of public health protection. And so in this case, it looks like EPA is just allowing operational convenience over public health protection in this situation. I can't come up with any good reason to let it go this long in the conditions of this particular water system. So just going a little bit more into EPA research of how the documented cases have happened in other places. And this is consistent with EPA's responses to some of the questions that we've asked them. They say, well, the water that comes out of the tank looks like this. It's clear, it's flowing clear. And this is true. This is what happens all the time. As long as the sediment remains undisturbed, the water that flows out of the tank is clear and tests well and everything is fine. But if you've got a pressure fluctuation event that stirs into that sediment layer and disrupts it and pulls it into the tank, this is what the water is going to look like coming out of that tank. We know that pressure events happen. We know that it occurs, and the tool that we have to take care of this is to make sure that the tank is cleaned and inspected every 3 to 5 years. And so this is just another slide from this EPA research, just reiterating, when you've got insects, rodents, birds, and animals, when they have a pathway to enter into that tank, it's all downhill from there because they decompose, they have bacteria, and that is what is settling into the sediment layer and causing that risk, that public health risk. So we have some resources here, and I think Susan has a copy of these slides, so you'll be able to click on all of these links. But the Sierra Club posted a blog post here called Camp Smith Water Woes, and it has some action recommendations in that blog post. Here is a link to the inspection report. I referenced the National Drinking Water Advisory Committee recommendations that recommend this having a national requirement to do this. So that link to that report is here. And then those last two pictures that I showed from an EPA research report, a link to that resource is available here. So that's my prepared part of this, and I'll be happy to take your questions.
Great. Thank you. Maybe you could stop the share.
Thank you.
And wow, that was frightening and amazing. I do want to recognize we have a Hawaii House of Representative, Kanani Souza, here. So I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you, Ms. Souza. Yay. Really appreciate that. Okay, I'm just going to ask one question, and then we'll have people raise their hands, and we'll go from there. So this EPA inspection report into 2024, was that kind of a result of the Red Hill disaster in 2021? In other words, it was. Okay.
It's one of the follow-up. They've had a few inspections, but they had published that last summer.
Okay.
It was
but
conducted in June of 2024.
Right, but that like Red Hill, the disaster was the wake-up call, and then it was like EPA said, okay, we better look at the whole system. But that was the truth.
Right.
Okay.
And it's a follow-on from previous inspections where several of the same items were found, and EPA just kept extending the dates that the water system has to comply. And that's where I start to get concerned, because a lot of these extensions and compliance dates don't provide public health protection, and they just don't make sense, especially for some of these items based on the complexity that was in there. They should be capable of resolving far sooner than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you're not the rep. Okay, sorry, you just have the same name. Well, thank you for being here regardless. Okay, I think it was Chris and then Hailani.
Hi, thank you. My question is, what have you seen in your experiences for those extension requests? Is it typically 1 to 2 years? Is there a standard time frame for those extensions? Like, is 2030 excessive, or has that become kind of a regular practice for the EPA? Or are they treating likely Red Hill area any different?
It is a regular practice in the Red Hill inspections. It was like throughout the adding 5 years. Let's just tack on another 5 years. It's all fine. I do see extensions in other communities as well, so it's not just a Red Hill issue here. I can't say that adding 5 years every time is standard throughout the country. The Safe Drinking Water Act has very few tools for compelling water systems to actually do things. So EPA gets stuck in this cycle of just saying, oh, well, we'll just give them more time to do what they were required to do and it just kind of just ends up going on forever. So it's really frustrating. And I think we should all be asking more of EPA in these situations because it's not providing public health protection.
Is it down to state standards, state by state regulations that are tighter or looser by state then? Since EPA has no teeth on that?
So EPA sets the floor. States can be more strict than federal. Not all are. Some just, are not allowed to be stricter than federal. But then the state can add additional requirements onto that. So when EPA doesn't require it, you can go to the state Department of Health and see if they will demand these things of the water system. But I think in this case, it's because the federal Department of Defense, federal relationship, that EPA is more involved than usual, and EPA has taken over these inspections when normally in a normal water system, not in a consent order situation, it would be the state that would be conducting this type of inspection.
All right. Hey, Lonnie.
Hi, thank you so much. That's actually pretty shocking. I have a question about where's the water coming from, and then um if um if they reopen the other two wells, is that going to be used as a storage tank for some of the water? And also, where's the Department of Health on this? Have they said anything? Are they putting pressure on any of this? And then are people actually still drinking water from those storage tanks? That's all my questions.
Okay, there are several, so I might not catch them all. So please remind me. I'm gonna go back to that map that I put up. Okay, make it big. So you were asking where is the water coming from? So right now it is my understanding that both these water sources, the Halava and the Red Hill, are closed. So the only water source right now is coming from here. Which means it has to travel a long distance to cover the entire distribution system, which I don't have access to the full pipe map or a hydraulic model for this water system, but based on my experience, I'm going to guess that the system was not designed at all for this. So it is a big challenge to use this single source and get water to the entire system with adequate flow and pressure, which would make that Camp Smith tank far more important than it was. It was important, but it's even more important now that these two sources are closed, and this is going to be providing that additional pressure. But it also means that the water travels for a very long time to even fill those tanks. And so as water ages, its quality declines. So that's another factor here. Okay, so that was one question. Where does the water come from? Can, can you help me with your follow-ups?
Oh yeah, so I think you partly answered the other part of the question, which was Halava shaft and Red Hill shaft. Now they're installing GAC filters on both sides, and they're hoping to reopen those two shafts by the end of the year. Now, so I don't know how this how water pressure and all of this works, but so if they reopen those two um uh shafts, will the water be then taken up to Camp Smith and stored there, or like how does that work? And then where's the Department of Health on all of this?
Right. So I don't know where the Department of Health stands on any of this, so I can check that question off quickly. Um, so the as I said, I don't have a complete map or all of the hydraulic connectivity of this water system. But if it is all open and free flowing, if the Halava shaft was to be reopened and so it starts pumping water into the water mains, it will pump to fill the Camp Smith storage tanks. It will pump into the system to flow down to the rest of the water system. So the new water that would be treated by the GAC system would be coming in and out of the Camp Smith storage tanks. I feel like I wanted to make another point there. but I've forgotten it. So I'll come back to it if I remember it.
And Wayne, I can verify this because I was at FTAC as well. Wayne in the chat put how he brought it up at FTAC to the DOH and the EPA and the Navy and their response. It's in the chat and it's not good. Okay.
I remember the thing I was going to say, it's one thing I don't know about this water system. Sometimes water gets pumped to an area, to a different section, and it just goes one way. Like they'll have like a backflow, or it's a metered connection to serve another area. I don't know if that happens, but if there is a place that does that, there could theoretically be a place where water is pumped out of the Halava shaft, and goes into a different section, but does not flow in the opposite direction. But that might have been too technical, and I don't know enough about the connectivity of the water system to be precise on that.
Okay, thank you. Next was Bill.
Yes, yes. I put something in the chat also because I had a concern. Yeah, the interior of these tanks, what kind of coating? And I was concerned about the potential deterioration of the coating over time. That could be an additional pollutant that would need to be considered.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. The tank interior does deteriorate over time, and that's one of the reasons why they drain it, they clean it, they dry it, they scrape off any loose coating, they do a new coating, and when you wait this long, the standards have changed for what's an approved coating. So hopefully standards are getting tighter and more protective over time. NSF 61 would be is the standard that determines what is healthy enough to be as a substance to line a tank to be in contact with drinking water. So there is a program to determine what is safe for drinking water. But yeah, when that coating is in place for longer than its design life and that 3 to 5 year recommendation, it can absolutely degrade.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you. Oh, sorry. Next we have Robert and then Mia Lisa.
Hi there. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was and very insightful. I have a question for you. You mentioned about the EPA stepping in to do the testing, and then the states could possibly override that. What in this case, with the current administration, with the EPA's funding, what is the status with that regards to us here in Hawaii?
Right. So typically the way drinking water regulations work is you've got the water system. They must sample according to the Safe Drinking Water Act. They must meet standards and then report to the state. We call it the primacy agency. So for Hawaii, it is the Hawaii Department of Health. And then the Hawaii Department of Health reports to the EPA. And the EPA is responsible to make sure that everything is working. That's what's supposed to be happening. When Red Hill happened, I believe that's when EPA got involved and took over the inspections. So if anybody knows this better, if EPA was involved before, please correct me. Because on some of this because it is a Navy facility, there might be other things that are not part of the common structure where you go from its water system, state oversight, EPA oversight is what normally happens. So, but the fact that it is a Navy facility that is running this, it creates different relationships going on here. Can you remind me of the next part of your question to make sure I'm answering you?
No, you did. It was about the funding portion.
Oh, the funding.
Yes.
Right. So right now,
zero.
EPA is a whole different world than it was in 2021.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a lot more complicated. I don't know what to expect out of EPA at
Would
all
you
right now.
agree? Would you agree with the EPA that continually working with the EPA regarding these issues, like on an educational basis and bringing them concurrent to the enterprise to the current situation is important for the next 2.5 or 3 years or whatever you have in this administration?
Yeah, so normally you'd EPA bringing EPA in is, the heavy hitter that is supposed to make sure that the state and the water utility are doing what is supposed to be happening. In this situation, I don't know that we can, well, I should say, experience has told me that we can't count on EPA to be that in the first place, but even less so in the current conditions. There are good people at EPA who are there because they wanted to do good work. And if you can get them involved in your case, they can be very helpful. So I think continuing to copy them and ask them and treat them as if you expect them to do their job, that's
Maybe
important.
with a PR department of the Sierra Club and EPA,
Mhm.
and just getting a PR report update on the Red Hill environment and where we are with, you speaking generally. I don't even like using the word Red Hill because there's so much more now than just Red Hill. When you say Red Hill, it's just kind of specific to one area, you know what I mean? But
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
but anyways.
Okay, thanks. So we'll go on to Mia Lisa.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I was just following up on Healani's question about if it's currently being used. I'm not sure if you answered that, and if so, where?
Are people actually consuming water in their homes? Is that the question? So I
Yes.
don't know if anybody is consuming water in their homes. People are definitely using water for toilet flushing, and other water uses, but I don't know. I can't tell you who feels confident to actually drink water if they have a treatment device in their home for it.
Was
Does
the
that,
question about Camp Smith, though? Are people drinking the water from the tank from Camp Smith? Was that the question?
yes.
So the inspection report says that the tank that was last inspected and cleaned in 2013 um, is active, it is in service, and based on that map, it is connected to the entirety of the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam water system.
Okay, so that includes schools and shopping areas that the public can shop around.
Right. Well, so, based on that map, that water is capable of being distributed to anywhere in that water system. If there is anybody who has access to better information and knows that there are perhaps uh, division valves or areas where sections are sectioned off and the water does not flow freely between areas, that is possible, but I don't have that information available to me.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have about maybe 5 more minutes of questions? So, Dady, Ann, thanks.
Hey guys, wait. Oh my God, I don't know how to turn on my camera.
That's okay. We can hear you.
Okay, it's all good. Hi, miss everybody. Hey, so, I lived on the Pearl City Peninsula Navy housing for 10 years. I'm the one that voiced out about the jet fuel and all the concerns with it. Anyway, so right now, the Navy, the NAVFAC, the DOD, and their contractors are actually working right now. They're digging up and they're working right now on Pearl City Peninsula Navy housing along Lehua Avenue. They're installing and replacing those, I guess it's a 24-inch plumbing pipes. And we all know that those plumbing pipes actually leads out to the water wells underneath a Pearl City Home Depot on Kamehameha Highway to get the Waiava water. And we still got the interconnected pipes from Ford Island and Kapalina Beach Homes. So how will their huge secret, I don't even know if it's secretive to you all, but how will this OPSEC type of expensive project do for the Navy Red Hill crisis? And if anything, something to prevent something similar to happening, like what's happening on Camp Smith?
I don't know enough about that to be able to weigh in on your question. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
okay. I did take enough pictures. I mean, I can take more video when I visit Pearl City Peninsula Navy housing because my two adult sons and their dad still lives there till next month. But it's I know they're doing this as a pony show. I know they're scared, and I know they're doing this for some freaking reason. Sorry for my language. It's just emotionally bothers me a lot. And
Right.
yeah,
Do
okay.
you
If
do
you
you know,
yes.
have they provided like an actual like description of the project? It's a good outreach strategy for water utilities who want to develop trust with their community to tell them, what the project is and what it hopes to achieve. Have they provided anything like that?
All they're saying is that it's going to affect certain folks' waters in the housing. I did see that email. Um, as they're going ahead and fixing the plumbing pipes or replacing the plumbing pipes, a huge project leading into 2026. That's all they're basically saying.
Okay. Well, if there's
Yeah.
if there's an email that you can forward along and I can see if I
Okay.
can extract any meaning from it, I'll do my best.
Okay. And I'll take the pictures. That's right outside of their work area on the Pearl City Peninsula Navy housing on Farm Avenue, right off of Lehua Avenue. I'll do that.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. You're inside person. Thanks.
Okay, I'm trying to mute
As you have
myself.
been
Can
for a
somebody
while.
mute?
You're experienced at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Any more questions for Elin, who has graciously stayed up so late for us? We good?
Sorry, I need to raise hand. One question.
Go ahead.
Have any recommendations for us, Elin? You've seen this before or seen other issues in other systems before. Maybe there's a good strategy that might work or help us with the APA. And I know you said helpers there, so that's a great suggestion. There are good workers in EPA. We have to remember everybody. Not everybody's in the political issues. But do you have any other helpful tips, maybe with other regulators as well, like state or, Department of Health? Like any suggestions to help us?
Well, I have found that, getting the information out in the media, making sure that, the stories are public, as long as it stays in, technical documents that are, too technical for, the general public to understand, then they don't see daylight, they don't see progress. So, you know, getting the story out. There's the Sierra Club has a blog post up, but making sure that people hear about this, people talk about this, and put pressure that, waiting till 2030 is not good enough because in the conditions right now, there's a real risk of stirring up the sediment layer and distributing it to people. So yeah, I think getting the story out and building that education and support is probably the most important thing.
Thank you.
All right. Last call. Oh, Mariko asked, yeah, we probably don't, but do we hear how many people are being served by these tanks? I don't think we know. Do we know, Elin?
So if the tanks are if all of those water mains in that map are all openly connected, then the water could potentially go to the entire population that's served by the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam water system.
Oh.
But again, there could be sections that are closed off. I don't know that, but the
Right.
potential population at risk of being exposed would be the entire system. I would, if any of you know somebody who knows the how that water system is set up and might be able to, dig in on that, I would love to be able to, shrink that population for you, but I don't have enough information right now.
Yeah, and would they give it out? Would the Navy give it out unless we have someone on the inside? You know what I'm saying? Is that considered? I don't know. Everything is national security to that.
Right. Well, I think about where I live, and we have it's we just it's we've got an interconnected distribution system where I am, but there are multiple municipalities that we know are like little separate islands. So everybody in the Detroit area has access to the information that water is, once it gets to a certain area, it's not moving out of that area. It's kind of trapped in
Okay.
there. And so there can be those types of layouts within the Joint Base water system. I think it would be normal to have some of that information public in a different scenario, but you are correct. In this situation, they are very adamant that any information is a security issue. Even like in that tank inspection, so much they don't even say the capacity of the tank. Which a lot of times is obvious by looking at it. If you look at enough of these tanks, you can look at one and be like, oh, that's a 2 million gallon tank. So like some of what they've redacted is ridiculous, and any community would have access to that information where they live. But in this case, a lot of that information is cut off.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah, and that's relevant information, but yeah.
Very relevant that you should have access to it. If you're living there, you should have access to that information.
So food for thought. We'll have to think on that one. But thank you so much, Elin. That was an amazing presentation, and thank you for answering all of our questions. I learned so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Round of applause. Thanks so much. If you're welcome to stay on if you like, or
I think I'm gonna go to bed.
Oh, yeah, I would too. I would too if I were you. Thank you again.
Okay.
So much.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Aloha.
Aloha. So next on our agenda is the survey, and then kind of discussing maybe what our legislative priorities would be. So I'm going to turn that over to Helani. Thank you.
Hi, aloha everyone. Yes, so we are looking at the next 2026 legislative session and what the priorities are. This past session, the VIBE bill actually was reintroduced and passed. It was Representative Ichiyama that pretty much carried that forward. So we now have a VIBE coordinator and a fund set up for the long-term remediation. Not to say we have money, but I'm just saying that at least the steps are going forward, and that was a huge win. I want to mahalo Ernie Lau for advocating for that bill very strongly, and the community for coming out in support. So we are looking now at what the next priorities. There's so many issues when it comes to clean water. This is one issue already, and I added it to the survey as a possible priority for the next legislative session. I know we are all busy and working, but and that is why we have to prioritize. So I just gave some choices from what from my understanding of the real critical issues. So for example, the reopening of the wells, now the Camp Smith water tanks, and one of the major priorities I think is for myself is the increasing of the fuel tank advisory committee meetings. Currently, they only have 2 meetings a year. And it's pretty much one of the only opportunities and venues for the public to ask questions directly to the Navy, directly to the Defense Logistics Agency, directly to uh, legislators who are supposed to be sitting on there, and people like Ernie Lau and the EPA, the Department of Health. So this is a real opportunity for the community to come out. And our concern here right now is that they are saying the reason why they don't think they should increase. Okay, well, kind of backtrack a little bit. The last two meetings, they had votes on whether or not to increase the number of meetings for the FTAC, which is the Fuel Tank Advisory Committee, from two. We should have one a quarter at least, so that would be 4 a year. And the first one got discounted for technical reasons, and the last one was voted down because there were people who usually don't come to the meetings that actually showed up to the meeting and then voted it down, of course. And so we need legislation this next year to be introduced and to be pushed forward to increase the number of FTAC meetings. This is it's unacceptable the way it's set up. The community can only testify at the end. They don't have to answer our questions, and we have to wait 6 months sometimes for answers. And it's transparency and information during this time, especially when they're thinking about reopening the poison wells, when they're just moving forward with whatever they want to do. It's critical that we chime in on this, because this is our only window to see what's happening. This is like one of the last windows for transparency left in our community. And the Red Hill CRI, we've been pretty much defanged, so we don't have much power in terms of they don't have to answer our questions really anymore. We're more of a community group that gets to sit down and meet with the EPA and the military twice a year, I believe now. So, and is it supposed to be once a quarter? Are we supposed to be meeting with them once a quarter, or?
No, I think it went back down to, is it twice a year, three
Yeah.
times a year? Yeah, they decreased it.
Yeah, so I put it in a chat, but then we'll also share it out as well to get more feedback. We do plan to ask a legislator to introduce the legislation for the increase in fuel tank advisory committee meetings. And so we are going to push that this next session, but we also want to hear from the community and what their priorities are. So if you can fill that out, that would be awesome. Thank you.
And also, I just wanted to bring up, when they voted down, the FTAC voted down, it was only like by one vote that they voted down meeting 4 times a year instead of 2 times a year. And then they also said it took them $20,000. They spent $20,000 a meeting to meet at the Capitol, which is incredibly bizarre to me. And then yesterday they had sort of just a public comment period, because that got cut off at the Capitol meeting because the internet cuts out at 5:30. So we were up in Pearl City at the top of Waimano Home Road. They have a meeting room there, the Department of Health, right? And I don't think that cost $20,000. So that was something that was brought up. One of the people said, well, why do we have to meet at the Capitol? Can't we meet? And we met there yesterday. So maybe in that bill somehow, because that's going to be their thing. Oh, we don't have $20,000 a meeting to spend, somehow comment on that there are other places to meet, and we have, so that's not an excuse they use. And Helani, did you just quickly want to go through some of the other items that were on the survey, just so people kind of have sort of a feeling of what the other issues, potential priorities may be or issues.
You're muted.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're muted.
So one of the other issues is, let me see this. Here we go. Let's see. The cleanup and repairs of Camp Smith water tanks. I just added that in. I'll fix that. But you know, this is incredible. I can't believe this is happening. I don't know if the legislature has the power to address this, but I know that as regulators, the Department of Health does. And so, and that is a state agency. Requiring one of the other priorities you can choose from is or rate is requiring the U.S. military to provide timely reporting in sequence regarding water test results to the Department of Health and the public. That has been an issue in light of the report that came out at the last CRI meeting. That was another shocking revelation because we were informed that the test results before the 2021 November spill, which was, I think yesterday was the anniversary, right? That was what, 3 years ago already? Wait, no, 4 years ago. Oh my gosh. So 4 years ago, before the actual spill, there were test results that were coming back, that were above the environmental action levels. And so, but they weren't given to the Department of Health. And from what we were presented with at the last meeting in a timely manner, they waited 9 months in some cases to give these test results to the Department of Health. And then they weren't given in sequence, which causes actually, I think, more confusion. And so again, this goes back to the point that the Red Hill spill that poisoned 93,000 people was absolutely preventable. And there were warning signs before that spill happened. And so the reporting has always been an issue with the test results. We also found out that test results can be accessed within 2 days after the lab receives them, that you can ask for preliminary results. And in fact, that the US military, the US Navy they check off that box and they ask for preliminary results to be given to them, via the phone. And so there are ways that we can find out. We were always told it's 2 weeks for lab results to come out because they have to be shipped to the continent and then come back. But you can actually access preliminary results, and those preliminary results should be reported to the Department of Health right away, especially if they are exceeding environmental action levels. So that's a real big issue, and it's a matter of public safety. And then also holding the US military accountable to changing all the pipes and hot water heaters of all residences who were poisoned during the last Red Hill fuel spill. I saw the article that came out that Amy Law shared about about congressional members wanting to address the harm that was done to servicemen and women, and give some kind of compensation for them. What about the residents? So it wasn't just servicemen and women that were poisoned. It was everyone that's on that water line. A lot of people don't know this, but the US Navy is actually a water utility purveyor. And so they're in charge of the water for a whole area, huge area of Oahu. And this includes shopping centers, elementary schools, and Oahu residents that are not in service to the U.S. military. So again, having the U.S. military be accountable to changing these pipes and hot water heaters not just for U.S. servicemen and women, but for all Oahu residents who were affected by the spill. And that would include places like Iroquois Point, which is now, a private, it's a private place where, we have local residents, we have, even Hawaiian residents living there. So I think that should be one of the priorities. And we can't let up on these things because it is going to just keep resurfacing and resurfacing. And then of course the increasing of the FTAC meetings per year. So those are just some of the priorities that if any of them are something you're concerned with. We are being told that the two wells, the two Navy shafts, the Red Hill shaft and the Aiea Halava shaft will be reopened by December. And there's I don't know what to say. And then that's another concern at this point. Thank you.
Yeah, and one other one that I have written down, I think from my notes from a prior meeting, some sort of maybe bill to require remediation or some remediation standard for the environment for the damage done, because we all know that the military, sometimes their remediation is to put a fence around it and put a sign, do not disturb, do not dig. So yeah, maybe some bill around that. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I know that it's pretty common, and this is all about legislative, but I really keep wanting to push that the people have the power to do enough sign in, and there can be enough signatures to get something to vote. And that is how many communities, California, Oregon, other places, have added water, uh, you know, TPH limits and things that protect their water in their community. They've put them on a vote to the people, and it really was a signature of the people to get it on a vote. And it didn't have to go through the legislator. And I looked up the Hawaii laws, and you can do that too. So it's just another option with power, a power issue, I feel, of not getting what we really want done in a timely manner and having people vote. So I keep wanting to push this idea out, and I've probably mentioned it in other old CRIs just as a, comment, but it's something I truly believe we could probably accomplish something that a vote of the people would pass.
So Chris, being because I lived in California for so long, they're called propositions, right?
They are, yeah, they're propositions here in California.
Yeah.
They're ballot measure in Oregon. And we have to look at the language of
what it is
how
here.
Hawaii say that.
Yeah.
But I feel if it was really specific, and something we all gather around as a main cause we would like to see as a new law, there could be a good signing campaign to get it on a ballot for a few, and look at deadlines for those ballot measures. For the people to vote on. That'll just force the hand of a new law in the state.
Hawaii, we do not have citizen ballot initiatives like other states do. The ways to get laws passed is through the legislature. The only time laws are voted on by the public is with the constitutional amendment. So it has to make it to the legislature and then also the electorate, but there's no kind of like direct electorate to the ballot kind of initiative.
Okay, because I was researching that and I had read there was a signature limit for something like this in Hawaii as well. But maybe that's something we could look into.
And also keep the same strategy for. Yeah, I see what you're saying, because that's a step before. Once there's a bill, then we put in written and oral testimony, but you're saying the step before that to get the bill. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I just, no white knights. We have to be our own heroes.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, if people can, and if we can forward the link, right, to the survey to friends and right, because we kind of want to get the community's involvement and yeah, then we'll see because we can't everything can't be a priority, then there's not a priority. So we're just trying to get our hands around what yeah, what we can focus on. So all right, next are some quick announcements and then it is public comment time. Okay, so we have a water and Michelle, if you want to pop in, please be my guest. There's a water bottle exchange and potluck. Um, we will be commemorating the Red Hill anniversary this weekend on Saturday. The potluck is from 4 until sunset at Cove 2. You do need to go through the gate, but you just show them, I believe, your driver's license and your up-to-date registration. And I will let Michelle, I see Michelle's there. I'll let her take it away.
Everything that Susan said is correct. So this will be a beachside meet and greet with past and present members of the CRI, and we will also be conducting a water jug exchange, which looks like we have big 5-gallon jugs, and per Capilina household, we do 2 jugs, and then they return 2 jugs. So it's an exchange, and we swap out 2 5-gallon jugs for full. And I'm looking forward to having everyone gather and talk. We will be there from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And there's also a party down at the restaurant, at the beach restaurant too. So it'll be a very entertaining and fun night. And if anyone would like to volunteer to help us, we will just email us at the CRI and I will get back to you.
And everybody can bring a dish for roughly how many people or beverage or something?
Yeah, well, probably about 24 people.
Okay. All right, great. All right, thank you. And there's yeah, Michelle made some beautiful flyers for that, which is on social media in various places. So yeah, or if you want to put it in the chat, if that's possible, I don't know.
Yes, I'll put the Facebook event in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, and our next CRI meeting, actually with the Navy and the EPA, is Tuesday, December 16th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Veterans Center, again, where it has been, I think the July meeting was also there, but we'll get more word out about that. If you have any ideas about agenda items, you know, they always ask us what we want for an agenda item, but it's not guaranteed. So email those to me by close of business tomorrow. And those of us who can make it, I will send out a Zoom invite for Sunday at 6. We'll just kind of look at over all the ideas. And then Tuesday morning, I will send our suggestions for agenda items to the EPA. And let's see. Oh yeah, again, a clarification. There is no new elementary school being built in Red Hill. We had kind of a miscommunication on that, so just wanted people to know. There is something being built up there. We are trying to figure out what it is, but it's definitely not a Hawaii Department of Education school at this point. Well, it's just not. So yeah, just wanted to clear that up. And we are ready for public comment. So if anybody would like to raise their hand, we'll have public comment. Okay, Marty.
Hey everyone, thanks so much. Really appreciate you guys keeping the candle burning. I'm just absolutely shocked at how bad the Camp Smith stuff is. I mean, I had read it a little bit, but hearing it from Elin, it's just absolutely shocking. So thank you very much for keeping that up. And I support a bill to improve the way the FTAC functions. And I think maybe it might even help to change up the composition. I don't know if good idea, bad idea, but I don't think there's a reason to have the so many of the military on the FTAC. I think you could have more community folks have it be a little bit more balanced. And I thought it was kind of um it was uncool to have the Air Force come to the last FTAC meeting for the sole purpose of voting down the motion to make the meetings more frequent. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that that's what happened. Um and yeah, and thank you very much. Keep on keeping on.
All right, thank you. Oh, beautiful flyer is in the chat. Michelle put it there. Anyone else? Excuse me, I have to pick up my dog. Okay. No other comments, concerns, suggestions. My phone is blowing up. I don't know why. There, okay.
Well, I would like to ask everyone a question, and this is on the tails of the Red Hill Registry talk that they had earlier today. That was very it was it was emotionally moving in a healing way to hear the three of them speaking all together and reflecting on the last 4 years. And I just wanted to take a moment. Maybe we just take a moment in silence or just reflection as we have now reached the 4th anniversary since the spill, and how it has, I feel that we've turned the pain into purpose. So I'm grateful for each and every one of you, and I'm grateful for each and everyone who watches these meetings and is involved and pays attention, and also doesn't allow themselves to feel gaslit about what actually is. So yes, so mahalo everyone.
Thank you. Would you like to do 30 seconds of silence, everyone? Okay, I have a timer. Thank you. Thank you all very much. I wrote down from that event, Mehalani Richardson said something I think she got from someone else that said, Red Hill never leaves you. And I thought that was like so powerful and so deep. Oh, Tara. Go ahead, Tara. Oh, did we lose Tara? I saw, oh, there you
I'm
go.
here.
Okay.
It just took a second to unmute. I just finished driving home from work, so I can't turn my camera on. I'm still.
Oh, that's okay, but we just lost your microphone. Sorry. Oh,
And
Tara,
I just thank you.
I think I'm sorry. We lost your microphone. All we heard was thank you. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
You want to try again?
well, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I just was saying thank you. I just drove home from work, and so I'm still in the car. I can't turn on my camera. But I wanted to thank everybody for the presentations and for the work and the continued effort and the ability to continue learning about everything because this is just a evolving topic, and I'm just really appreciative of everybody's effort and um, commitment to this. So just thank you for that.
Thank you, Tara, and thank you for sharing your story of, being an impacted family in a big way and diverting your attention to, the health issues, the Red Hill Registry. That was really powerful as well. So I thank you. I thank you too. All right. Yeah. If we are done, anyone else? Yeah, turn that pain into purpose. I love that. I'm writing that down too. I love that. Chris?
What's the plan on the survey? Is that for future meeting internally with us?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Hey, Lonnie, did you want to kind of put a due date on when we kind of want people to answer those questions so we can review them, or what do you think, Hilani?
Yeah, I think we should have it ready by December, and hopefully we can just send that out. But we do need to stay on top of the legislature in terms of the about clean water
Mhm.
and all the issues that are still unresolved. And yeah, I need people to still stay involved. And I also want to point out too that this past few weeks, I think it was like 2.5 weeks ago, there was a Vai uh book signing and forum that Kamana Beamer put out. And then there was a forum just a couple nights ago that was put out by the Associated Students, University of Hawaii on water. So the discussion about Vai is still ongoing. We have not forgotten, and it is such an important part of our life. And it's also very sacred to us because it is really the the basic building block for life, and without it we cannot survive. But I want to just also acknowledge that there were some events this past month that really highlighted the importance of water. The last one really made those connections between water and the US military leases that are going to be expired in 2029 and the ongoing issues with that. They found a way um to to negotiate behind closed doors. And so because of that, all of our voices have been pretty much muted, and all the testimonies, all the hearings we've been at have, been discounted and disclaimed. So I think it is important to keep up the issue of the there's so many different reasons for clean water, but also because of the military leases. I think people need to understand that no matter what deal you make with the US military, no matter what they say, you can't trust them. You know,
Right.
that's been an ongoing theme the last 4 years in this whole movement for clean drinking water, clean drinking water. It's such a basic human right, but it's so difficult. It's been a difficult uphill fight. And so I wanted to just point that out that we're still in it. It's been 4 years, and I literally just lost track of all the years. And this has been a great platform to stay on top of the issues as well as to help educate the public and our community. So that has been, I think, being part of the Red Hill CRI, even though they had other plans for us, we took it back and we're making it into something that empowers our community. And I think that's so important. So we just have to keep talking about the water for so many reasons. And it really is tied in with the US military leases.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to was, what they're doing is, circumventing, sidestepping the laws of Hawaii. So I would think there's going to be lawsuits brought by different organizations because that what they're doing is illegal, right? They're sidestepping the environmental impact report, all that kind of stuff. So remains to be seen, I guess. But I also I want to thank all of you, the new folks on CRI, the people, the veterans of CRI, and the ones that are in their second year, because we're showing that we're still here, we still matter, we're still interested, we still, I thank everybody who is attending here, because that means the interest is still there. The conversation is still in the community. So I just really want to appreciate each one of you for showing up here tonight and continually showing up, whether it's FTAC or what have you, or Board of Water Supply, Seaworm, all sorts of things, with the VI, because it's all important. So yeah, we just really appreciate all of you, and I'm excited that we're actually going to have a meeting with the Navy and the EPA December 16th, and we'll just continue to have our monthly meetings with these really important topics and educate everyone we can. Yeah. All right. If no one has any other last words they'd like to share, we will call it a night. Mahalo, everyone. Love you all.
Aloha.
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 Aloha. See you Saturday.
Yay, Saturday party time. Aloha.